they can revisit this content later on. So just a heads up, recording the call, you'll see that banner pop up here in just 1 second. But today we're going to be learning about impactful conversations. I'm going to hand the mic over to Lupe here in just one moment. But first, I wanted to take a quick moment and thank everyone who joined us on our call a couple of weeks ago where we learned about personal organization. I got a few great pictures of some offices that looked nice and spick and span, and even a team that interpreted our personal organization in an interesting way as they helped to keep their dish room organized and their shift moving along. So thank you to those teams, and thank you for Team Temecula for thinking outside of the box there. I hope that you guys felt like that information was impactful. Which, speaking of impactful, we actually have our HR business partner for the entire West Coast on the line today, Miss Lupe Sanchez. She's talking about a topic that really is important to us as leaders, making sure that we're having conversations that need to be had and that we're really utilizing the best methods, make sure that we're getting our point across as best as we can. But I'm going to go ahead and hand the mic over to Miss Lupe. Hey, Lupe, how are you doing today?
I am wonderful this Monday afternoon and excited to see that people actually showed up for my show.
Oh. Well, I know I've been talking to a lot of people who are very excited to hear about this. I know personally when I worked in restaurant, conversations with my team members used to scare the bejesus out of me. So I'm excited to listen in, Lupe, but go ahead and take it away.
Thank you so much. So can everybody see my screen for those of you who are sitting in front of the screen? Just want to make sure that I'm projecting.
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So as Mary said, you know, it's important for us to be able to have these impactful conversations, and typically we have sometimes when, depending on who we're dealing with, we may have a hard time addressing these situations. So we wanted to take this opportunity to give you some tools that hopefully will help you prepare for those situations. And sometimes we just don't know when those crucial or impactful conversations are going to come around. So we would encourage you to practice these tips. So when they do come up unexpectedly, it'll be very easy for you to jump in to those tools and be able to provide the correct feedback in a way that we're not getting anybody upset or there's no misinterpretation on the facts that are being led. So let's go ahead and get started. So I am Lupe Sanchez. I am your human resource manager, like Mary said, for the West region. And I just would like to hear from a handful of you. Why do you think we want to be able to have these impactful conversations? Why is it important? I'll start to call out names if people don't volunteer.
To inspire growth and development of our team members.
Wonderful, beautifully said. Absolutely. Anybody else? Okay, well, we're being shy, but I will be asking questions from time to time. So I would like to have at least one or two people respond. So thank you so much for that. Yes. So it's interesting to know when we talk to managers that 80% of managers say that they've avoided giving team members feedback because they were afraid of a bad reaction. And then when we talk to team members, 51% of team members say they get too little feedback from their bosses. So you can see that there's a discrepancy there, and there is a line where managers are afraid to give feedback and team members want the feedback, but it's how we deliver it that we want to feel comfortable with. So in this training, we'll help you keep impactful conversations free from emotional distractions, because as we know, when emotions get involved, that's when things can turn a little messy. It'll assist us to have fact-based conversation without making people angry, and turn impactful conversations into coaching conversations. So those meaningful coaching conversations that are so important. And your success depends on whether you can count on the team members to follow standards and meet goals or expectations. Feedback to team members should be clear, timely, frequent, and on purpose. So we want to make sure that we provide that information. And this is something that we've talked about at PF Chang's when it comes to providing feedback, right? So nothing new for us. So things that we want to consider when we're providing feedback: avoid conversations that may come across as attacking, pleading, shirking, soft pedaling, or that compliment sandwiches, right? A criticism sandwich between two compliments. And watch out for trigger words that instantly will put team members in the defensive. Avoid exaggerating the facts and using negative emotions. You know, some of the trigger words that we can think about are, you always do this. You never say this. Everyone says that, right? And those are trigger words that immediately, even when somebody says it to us, they'll put us into the defensive mode. Also, we want to be really comfortable in being able to provide the exact facts. And that's when sometimes I'll give an example. Managers will call me and they're very emotional about a situation, and they'll say, well, they've been late, you know, they're always late. They're always late. And when we go back and we look, yeah, they've been late maybe 2 or 3 times, but they're so upset that they exaggerated the facts. So you want to make sure that you remain calm and you have the facts in front of you, so we're not exaggerating and we're sticking to real time facts. Okay. With impactful conversations, the other thing that's really important for us to understand is, you know, we've all had that do-over, right? Where we think, oh my God, I could have done this differently. And I want to share with you an experience that I had when I had a very disastrous conversation with one of my team members. I remember I was an office manager at McDonald's, and I needed to talk to one of my employees regarding their attendance and their performance. And I used the trigger words. You are always late. You never get the assignments done. But I didn't have any fact base in front of me. And of course, the team member became very defensive. And I just kept going back to, well, you never do this. And I just bombarded the poor team member with everything they had done wrong in the last 60 days. And I just couldn't understand why the conversation was not going the right way. We ended the conversation, and I remember marching straight into my HR manager's office and saying, Phyllis, this did not go right at all. And I was so frustrated. I was sharing with her what had occurred. And she asked me to stop, to take a deep breath and say, okay, tell me exactly how the conversation went. And as I was telling her, I thought, oh my God, I just threw everything at this poor team member. Yes, she was not performing correctly, but I just threw everything at them without giving them an opportunity, number one, to say their side of the story, for me to ask, hey, your performance was going well, but something happened the last 60 days. These are the facts. Help me understand. I just threw everything at them. So my HR manager very kindly asked me and suggested to read the Crucial Conversations book, which I think has helped me tremendously, because I really made a mess out of that conversation. So I just wanted to share with you that all of us have those situations, and it's important for us to always be able to be calm, especially when you know you're going to be having a conversation with a difficult team member. Does anybody have any examples that you would like to share? I threw myself under the bus. Would anybody like to share any experiences of disastrous conversations, I would call them? All right, I'm not gonna, go ahead. Somebody was brave enough to say something.
Well, I can share too. I think I don't have a specific thing, but over the years and when I was a brand new manager, just the approachability and how you approach the situation and deliver it, like you said, it's just all in the delivery, because you can, you know, like at the sandwich theory, like you were talking about the sandwich, and just to be kind and put yourself in their shoes. I mean, I don't think they're trying to do a bad job on purpose, and it's every moment's a coaching moment and a learning, as long as everybody can learn from it.
Yes, yes. Nobody gets up in the morning saying, I'm going to mess up today, right? And we have to remember that. You're absolutely correct. Yes, yes. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. I really appreciate it. So now, is there anybody else? Nope. Okay.
I know I can think of one, Lupe. Sorry to
Oh,
jump
sure.
in here.
No, please.
I think back to when I was back in my old restaurant, and I had a team member that I had told not to take family meal home with him, and he tried to take family meal home with him, and I remember getting so upset about that, and I had to pull him into the office with another manager, and I was heated, and I should have walked away from that situation knowing I was upset in the moment, and I chose not to, and that conversation did not go the way that I had hoped it would. So that's my story. That's what I always think of as a failed coaching moment. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Mary, for sharing. Really, really appreciate it. So now here are some tools that we're going to share with you that will hopefully help you not have these type of disastrous conversations with team members. So the first tool that we want to talk to you about is called the FIRE approach, and it helps untangle your messages. So the F stands for facts. What have you seen or heard? We want to be specific. When identifying facts, include the following. Be candid and truthful. Be objective, right? Which means that we're not placing blame. Make sure that we're verifying and we're able to observe. We have been able to observe the situations. Be specific, have the details, and avoid to use absolutes, just like those trigger words, right? You never, you always. We want to make, or everybody says. So we want to make sure that we avoid those words. We want to make sure that the conversation is timely. Don't let the situation build into a monster of issues that will be difficult to handle in the future, right? I'm sure many of you have had situations where team members continue to have issues and we don't address it, and then finally they're late one more time and that breaks the camel's back, and you just get very emotional and start to address the situation in a way that you're going to regret later. So you want to make sure that we're timely and we address the situations. Then we want to be unemotional. We want to eliminate any feelings, words whenever possible, right? Because once we start to get upset, we want to be able to pull ourselves away and be able to say, you know what, I think we should have this conversation. Let's stop now and we'll have a conversation at a later date. Because sometimes you come into a conversation with the intent of being calm, cool, and collected, and then something happens and you start to lose it. And if you feel that you're starting to become emotional, you want to stop it. You want to stop the conversation and follow up at a later time. As well as if you see the team member becoming very emotional and defensive, no matter what you say, they've stopped listening. So at that point, you want to say, you know what, I see that this is difficult for us to continue this conversation. Let's continue this at a later time, and state the time and date that you're going to complete the conversation, and say, you know, when we're both calm so we can come back and review. So you want to make sure that we do that. And then the I stands for interpretations. Ask yourself, how did you interpret those facts, right? So you want to make sure when we're asking ourselves that, we want to make sure that we're doing that so we're not making assumptions, and that we're trying to be objective when we're presenting the facts. The R stands for reactions. What emotions are involved? How is the situation making you feel? You know, if you're nervous about how you address it, you want to make sure that you take a step back and understand why it's making you feel that way, so you can remain calm and be able to share the information with the team member appropriately. And then the E stands for ends. What do you want? What's the desired outcome? And you want to be able to state that, because if you don't know what the desired outcome is, you're not going to be able to bring this conversation into a closure where both you and the team member can agree on what the next steps are. So you want to make sure that you take a look at all these things. So this is the FIRE approach. Does anybody have any questions, or has anybody heard of this before?
Hello, this is Sprite. I just want to share something like
Sure.
for like I just have a one-on-one review like about 15 minutes before with my staff here. When you're talking about timely though, like it something is happened like yesterday, like when we are super busy and short on people toward the end of the shift, like people are still it's still busy, but our staff is kind of tired and start to went out smoking a lot and a lot more frequent, while the other team member is, I mean, like the rest of the team is still like working so hard. I just like, it just feeling that like when you say timely at the thing, I just want to share out that to me, I have considered like, every angle, like what is the bad way that can possibly happen. They walk out, we short on people even more. So I wait another day until his next shift, and then we just have a talk on that. You think like, is it like, I think it's a good idea.
You're absolutely
Um,
correct, Sprite. You're absolutely correct. And what you're using one of the tools, right? You want to make sure that you're measuring how is the message going to be received, right? It's the end of the day, they're tired, they're not going to be listening to you anyway. Let's talk to them first thing the following day. Right. And that is exactly the tools that you need and the right thing to do when you're having those conversations. So thank you for sharing that. That is great. Anybody else? Okay. So again, just Sprite just shared some really good information about, measuring it. Yes, we want it to be timely, but it doesn't always have to be on the spot. If not, if it can wait, you can wait till the following day because you want to make sure that the team member is able to receive the message that you're providing. And so we want to try again to think about this FIRE approach to make sure that we're comfortable with it. So in case a situation comes up, we'll be ready to use it and to gather information to provide timely feedback. Now let's go ahead and review some scripts that we can follow when you're delivering the message. So the scripts that we're going to look at address either people who have a moderate self-awareness or low self-awareness, because those are different type of messages that we have to share. So the first script is called Ideals, and this consists of 6 steps. So the Ideal script is a foundation script used in most impactful conversations with team members who have moderate self-awareness. The conversation focuses on facts, establishes accountabilities, and quickly moves on to finding solutions. There are 6 steps. So the first one is invite them to partner. For example, would you be willing to have a conversation with me about whatever the situation may be? Remember to use the third person, avoid the word you, and avoid any attacks or judgments. And again, we want to avoid any of those trigger words. Disarm yourself. For example, I'd like to just review the situation to make sure I'm on the same page as you are. You're taking responsibility for getting on the same page as them and truly understanding their perspective. You're not blaming them for not being on the same page as you are. So you're seeking to understand without passing judgment. And that's really important when we want to make individuals feel really comfortable and trust us to be able to move forward through the process. And then the third step is eliminate blame. For example, you don't want to say, or you may want to say, if you have a different perspectives, we can discuss those and develop a plan for moving forward. So you're going to state the problem and you're giving them an opportunity to give their side of the story by saying, if you have a different perspective, we can discuss those and plan and make a plan for moving forward. You're not presuming that there's a fight coming. You're not presuming that they're going to be wrong. You're telling them that you're not going to attack them for being wrong. And it's a blame-free way of saying we see things differently. So that's really important, right? Because it's safe for us to say we're looking at things differently. It's not a wrong or right. We're just, we get on the same page. And then step 4, affirm their choices. For example, does that sound okay? Can we talk now? Or if necessary, I have time later today. So you want to leave it open. You want to make sure that they're comfortable with what you're agreeing on. You're testing to make sure they're feeling okay and that their walls are still down. You're giving them some control and thus easing their anxiety, offering a choice about when to talk, but you're still gently insisting on having the conversation because we don't want this to be forced, right? So it's important for us to do that. So now let's go to the other 2 steps. List corrective feedback. For example, in last week's meeting, there was 3 times the crew members didn't react well, each following a comment you made. Do you know what comment I mean? So you're stating the facts and you're asking them to see if they recall. Ensure that the facts are candid, objective, specific, timely, and unemotional. Ensure they understand the feedback. Explain why you think the feedback is valid. And then synchronizing your understanding. For example, you can use the phrase, tell me how you think we can work together to build on this and make things even more effective next time. So you're asking them to help with a solution, so then they will have buy-in to what the next steps will be. Any questions or comments on the ideals before we move to the next one? Now we're going to talk about the CALM script. This is used when someone is being resistant. They have moderate, low self-awareness, and the issue is serious. The CD script is for high-performing individuals with high awareness, and the issues are not serious. So I'm sorry, that line is not supposed to be there. So let's go. Following these steps. So you want to make sure, again, calmly state the facts. Last week, I received feedback on avoid blaming. The history is unimportant. Going forward, there will not be, and then you state what's going on. Look for roadblocks. Is there anything that might prevent us from moving forward productively? This is a question that you may ask. Manage your expectations. And then last but not least, ensure that you close by saying, I appreciate you taking the time to talk and assist with this issue. Because again, we always want them to have buy-in. With these individuals, you know, the reason why it says the history is not important is because they will try and deflect and bring up every other thing that happened in the past. And really what's important for us is that we move forward, not what happened in the past. So that's why it's important for us to say, you know, the history is really not important going forward. This is what is going to be expected. Any questions on that? So in the CD script is very simple because again, these are individuals that are high performing individuals with high self-awareness, but you still want to maintain those same guidelines that we've had in the past, right? We want to be fact-based. We want to avoid blaming, using any trigger words. And then of course, we want to make sure that we agree collectively on what the next steps will be to solve whatever situation needs to be addressed. Okay. So are there, the call to action for this is for us to put these tips into practice, and maybe during our next seminar that we hold, we can start off by saying, hey, has anybody had a successful, crucial, or impactful conversation by using the tools that we have shared with you in the previous call? And again, what we want to do is we want to try and make these tips become familiar with these tips, because we never know when these crucial conversations are going to come up and they're going to catch us off guard. And we want to make sure that we're able to capture 2 or 3 things from the tips that we just provided to help you in that conversation that might be coming in the future. Okay, so the recap, again, just to remind all of us, the most important thing is that we must remain calm. We want to, when we are anticipating to have a conversation with a team member or a colleague that we know may become a little crucial, you want to make sure you want to practice, you want to write down the things that you want to say. And the one thing that I tell a lot of my managers when they talk to me, you know what, stand in front of a mirror, look at your body language, look at your facial expressions, and remain calm. Think of everything that the team member might come at you with and respond. Be ready to respond with it. I'm always available for you if you ever want to do role plays with these crucial conversations. I found that in the past it helped me tremendously, and it still does help me from time to time. If I'm going to have a crucial conversation with somebody, I need to run it by somebody, I need to voice it, and I call on colleagues to help me and listen. So I could go through that conversation. So remain calm, be fact-based, be genuine, and of course, be timely. And to Sprite's point earlier, timeliness doesn't necessarily mean immediately, but it means when is the best time that this team member is going to be receptive. And typically you want to have this conversation within, you know, the time when it happened to 48 hours at the max. You don't want to go more than 2 days without addressing a situation if possible. And let's see here. Well, that's all we have. I hope that you find this information helpful and that you'll be able to use it and avoid making any team members angry when you're providing feedback. So that's all I have. Thank you. And I'm open for questions if anybody has any.
Awesome. Well,
very
thank
much.
you guys. Yeah, for joining today, Lupe. That was all great information. I like these acronyms that you were able to provide for us, these approaches, FIRE, ideals, and CALM. I think that these are great. They're really, you know, helps you take a step back, and especially what you were talking about, taking a look in the mirror, because it's also, like you were saying, not just about what you're saying, but how you're saying it. That team member's reading your body language, your tone, everything about that conversation. So thank you so very much, Lupe. I know I took some away from this presentation today. For all of you on the line, if you have any questions afterwards, please feel free to reach out to Lupe. She is a wonderful resource as you navigate these difficult team member conversations and have these impactful conversations. But thank you, Lupe. Thank you, everyone on the line. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your Monday afternoon.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you.